Hi to everyone. My name is Zoran Manevski, representing Cybercom Resund, with a special focus on connectivity and IoT. And in the next 10 to 15 minutes, we will try to explain the journey that we have in the last 2 years working together with the professor from Lund University and try to explain how using connectivity and the latest technology can really help us address these challenges. And we can show a real example of this solution working. How does this technology provide this assistance to us? And I would like to introduce my dear friend and co-worker, Professor Dr. Henrik Sternberg.
Thank you.
Yours the floor.
So our journey started 3 years ago. When you work as a transport researcher, you're looking at company data, you're looking at official statistics. But when I was going to study the effect of the international trade movements on the logistics business, on transportation, then I didn't realize what am I seeing on the streets, on the roads, and what am I seeing in the official statistics? According to the official statistics, most of the trucks passing here on the highway should be from Denmark, Netherlands, or Germany. But what we saw instead was a lot of trucks from Bulgaria, Romania, and Poland. So that was the start of developing this app called Cabotage-studien, and some of you might have heard of it. So what we did with a quite simple app, we engaged 8,000 volunteers in all of Northern Europe that collected over 500,000 observations to basically create a real-time snapshot of what is happening on the roads in Northern Europe. And the results, what we found out was quite scaring, actually. These drivers here, they make 300 euros a month. Most of them have not been home for 3 months. Some of them haven't been home for 6 months. They live in their trucks. And do you know which country they are living in? Sweden, yes. So this is the reality that we're facing. Some might say, well, this is giving us as end consumers cheaper goods. How much money do we save? Because, I mean, we still have to pay the truck, we still have to pay the fuel. How much money are we saving from this? Well, if you take an ice cream, you can save 0.02 crowns, 2 öre. On a personal car, a few hundred crowns. So basically what we had here is a situation where there are no real winners. And it has created huge parking lots like this one in Denmark, where over 500 trucks are being held every weekend. And all the toilets they have access to, for example, are the 2 that you can see there, for these over 500 foreign trucks. So what we see is that this is a challenge for the companies that want to be sustainable, that want to run environmentally friendly trucks, that want to pay their drivers decent wages. Let's say that they are on the yellow side. How can they compete with the companies on this side that are driving old, cheap trucks and having labor under kind of slave-like conditions? Well, the only way they can compete is by transparency, if it's possible for the end consumers to actually see the difference. And this is an issue. If you take a company like Coop, everyone knows Coop, right? The retail store. And Coop has a high environmental profile. They want to do good. They want to purchase environmentally friendly transportation. They put in the contract the demand that every driver working for them should have a salary which is on a decent level. Have you seen any PR on Coop's transportation and that they're doing sustainable distribution? No. Why not? Because they don't have transparency, they don't have good enough control. And we call this the black hole of transportation. Because many companies, they can come and pick up goods at the customer site with an environmentally friendly truck, with the driver who has a decent wage. They bring it to the terminal, and we don't know what happens between, for example, the terminal in Malmö and the terminal in Stockholm. How many here have heard about a company called Dinotrans? If this was a logistics conference, everyone would know. Everyone in the transport industry knows Dinotrans, because Dinotrans are flying in Filipino drivers that spend a year at a time in the trucks. and then they get to go back for a couple of weeks, and then they're rotating like that. They have 140 truck drivers like that on the roads here outside. So they are living from this black hole, the black hole of transportation. So how do we solve this? And what are the new opportunities to actually create sustainability by basically resolving this black hole? And that's how we got in touch with the Cybercom and how to solve this.
This is the solution. I think you can hear me right. This is the solution, but in order to come up with the right solution, you really need to understand the challenge and the problem. So the problem was, as we said, we need to fix that black hole, and that block was not that easily sharing the information with us in order to establish that transparency and visibility. So we said that we need to do something on top of it in order to fix that problem. So being able to get the data in the right time and the right place was really important for us to fix this problem. When we started with the project, we faced many issues working with these many stakeholders, and they were not willing to share the data because it was their business. And we said, okay, we need to fix this in another way, trying to get the data as things happen. So we need to be aware about the whole chain of events from point A to point B, and try to eliminate the dependency of those stakeholders and have a self-sustainable solution in place in order to deliver what was expected, try to really solve the problem. So after a couple of months of research and trial and error, we end up with blockchain as a technology that was used in order to help us get the data and validate the chain of events. A part of that, we use a lot of connectivity, a lot of IoT stuff inside the solutions. So we have RFIDs, QR codes, we have sensors, we have integration with original equipment manufacturing, onboard vehicle computers and stuff like that. So we are speaking about a heavily connected ecosystem here in order to get all the data needed in order to fix this black hole. So some of us can say, yeah, but it's not that big, but actually it's a really big problem. So by being there, by being the brain in the whole project and supported by the knowledge and research done by the professor, we were there and provided all needed technology to fix the problem. So what we have in reality, Professor, how did we end it up?
So by using this blockchain technology, you can actually follow goods, and everyone handling the goods can put their identity onto the blockchain. That way, we have a decentralized system which can resolve the black hole. So in our case, we're using Coop as the retailer, the one purchasing the transport, and we can backtrack and see everyone who has handled the goods. So by using blockchains, we get a secure identity handling. And that means that, for example, if we have coffee coming into the central distribution terminal of Coop, then the terminal takes over the asset. So the blockchain asset basically becomes a digital doppelganger of the coffee. So we're looking at fair trade coffee, as we know. Fair trade coffee is certified. We know that where it comes from. And then the asset is handed over to the transport company that is loading the coffee and then taking it to the next distribution terminal. So this case goes from Stockholm over several different hauliers to the terminal in Gothenburg, and then with the last leg going to the Coop store in Gothenburg. So this is kind of our proof of concept where we're showing that this is actually working. So if we take a company like Schenker, do you know how many companies are actually supplying Schenker? Schenker is a forwarder, so that means they don't own that many trucks themselves. Do you know how many companies are supplying Schenker with transportation? Actually, only in Sweden, only in the domestic transportation, it's 117 companies. So, and in Europe-wide transportation, and as we know, a huge share of transportation is international, it's thousands and thousands of trucking companies only working for Schenker. So that means that we really need a kind of safe, secure, decentralized solution. And as Zoran said, we've been doing trial and errors on this several years, and now we're really proud to say that we actually have something that works and that we believe for the future. So just to show you some screenshots from the app. So what Coop wants to do is basically put this app at the hands of the consumer. So the consumer can then see, okay, who has delivered these goods to us? The driver, where is he employed? They can assess the identity of the driver and the conditions that that the company, in this case TGM, for example, which is one of the 117 companies carrying out transportation only for Schenker, then they can assess that this company is following the rules, it's following the regulations. So this is just a sample of how we can establish this chain of information over a whole supply chain.
So what we would like to present with this case is that it's really important to be in a position to get all the data needed. First, to understand the challenge in a proper way, and then to identify the best possible solution. Use the data in the most convenient way. By doing this, we are really trying hard to improve the sustainability for this society here. So as we said here, we are playing locally here, but with a great ambition to expand the reach of this solution. I would like to say that Victoria ICT, and we have their member here, it's a project leader for these initiatives, and Cybercom there is the technology partner. As you can see here, there are many participants and stakeholders who are really into it, contributing with their part of the whole scenario to extract the value of the data that we are able to gather and realize the value out of that data.
Yeah. And we can say that, for example, Schenker is only using, well, so to say, drivers that have collective agreement salaries and insurances, etc. And when we approached them with this project, they said, well, this is a survival question for us because we need transparency so that the customers can see that we are different than our competitors. Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much. Stand over there. So, very inspiring. I mean, it just sounds like everyone should just use that. I mean, it's there to grab. Do anyone have a question? Yes.
Per Runesson, another professor from Lund University. I wonder about the platform here. How open is it? Is it possible, because you have model one chain, is it possible to have this multifaceted, because you will have many, like Coop, many transportation agencies? Is it based on that you have to agree on a common platform, or is it open enough so you can allow for a diversity in different stakeholders participating?
Well, as we said, this is an ongoing project. We have a working prototype, but what's going to happen now is that we are actually investigating the question, how open can we be? Our hypothesis is that it's going to, just like Bitcoin and other blockchain applications, that it's going to be able to be completely open, but it might also be the case that it might be too slow or too unsustainable. So we might have to have like a semi-closed blockchain for this application. But of course, the aim is to involve any type of supply chain actor.
If I may address from a technology perspective, we were thinking about different way of integration with different stakeholders on a different levels of integrations. So we had that in mind in the previous, even when we started. So we based the architecture on a very modular aspect, how we actually set up the solution, just knowing what, actually not knowing what might come up in future. So we said, like, we need to leave some space, either by providing an API to use a common way of communication with these vendors, or by different level of integrations.
Anyone else? Yes.
Was this project just to verify or validate that Coop is a good company, or has there actually been changes inside of Coop that they could present as a result of this?
Well, since Coop have agreements with several different forwarders, Schenker being one of them. In those contracts, it's clearly written. I mean, Coop are paying, and since I've been working with Coop for many years and doing a lot of analysis on the network, etc., and I can say that they are paying more than 50 million Swedish crowns extra every year to get state-of-the-art in terms of environmental and socially sustainable transportation. So, of course, they wanted to get additional value of the extra money they spend on this. They don't see the need for changing anything because they are using state-of-the-art in terms of intermodality, in terms of environmental vehicles and fuels, but they don't get the transparency and they don't get the goodwill and they don't get the value from the customers appreciating that they are actually paying for this.
So when do they expect that value to be sort of concretized?
As soon as we have this thing working.
Good there. You have something to work on. I think this is really interesting. I think there is a lot to learn from this to bring into the discussion further on, I mean, whether you work with these kinds of issues or not. And I think there's things to learn and maybe to build on in other sectors as well, not only to find efficiency within the transport. So it's really an open data thing to build new services on. So thank you very much. You will be here on the Mingle, I hope, and we can discuss further that and give them a big hands of applause. Thank you very much.